Okay, we're on a rural bus service in Herefordshire, and this is one that you might not think would be endangered, but even this route has its problems. I've got with me Jordan Creed, who started the Save Our Buses in Herefordshire campaign, and he has quite a story to tell, because people think that the story involves only older people who are stuck in the country. Well, Jordan's from a very different demographic.
This bus service is really important to me throughout my life. I used it to get to my sixth form in Hereford. Luckily it was a much better service a few years ago. But it makes it very difficult to work. I can't currently, because the service is being cut back so much, I can't work in Hereford because if I want to work in a pub. The last bus back from Hereford is at 9 o'clock, 9:40 I think, which makes it both difficult to work in kitchens because they finish beyond that time, and it makes it very difficult to have a social life. Just yesterday I wanted to go to the pub quiz, which finishes again past 6:40, past 9:40, which means I have to stay at somewhere. I have to stay at friends, or I simply can't get back from Hereford, which means I curtails my social life significantly, as I do need to get to work the next day. So I need to be able to get back to Ross. So staying at friends just isn't really an option a lot of the time. I think it's a bit ridiculous that a lot of the councillors are making decisions on this. People who've never used buses or barely used buses. I'd quite like to see them use the bus for a month to see. Then they know how much of a lifeline it is for people. Not just in like really rural communities though. I live in Ross and Wye, which is a town of almost 10,000 people. So if you imagine this one's being significantly cut back, there's many more stories which are even worse than this, where they have almost no service at all now because of the cutbacks to people's bus services, which means they're effectively isolated, both young and old. Effectively, the people on low incomes, people who can't afford private transport. So my message is to Herefordshire Council. Please protect the bus services. They're important to both old and young people who can't afford private transport. And if you really do still believe, after taking that into consideration, that we should still cut buses, I would like you to use them for a month before you make the decision. I think you're not going to make a good decision on the buses before you know how important they are to people. It's not like this is a service that has been cut yet. Herefordshire has already suffered some of the worst cutbacks to its public transport in terms of buses. 49% since 2010 has been taken out of the funding for buses, which has already cut, I think it's 13 routes. They're considering getting rid of the bus subsidy, which will effectively mean that all non-profitable services will disappear, which is something that's a bit ridiculous to expect the private bus companies to support unprofitable services. It doesn't make any sense for a private company to do that. So there has to be a bus subsidy in a place like Herefordshire.
And of course all this is part of what goes to having sustainable transport, which the Department for Transport insists that they do before building new roads.
Yeah.
However, our councillors on the Cabinet especially seem to have a positive view. I seem to recall you telling me that there's only one bus per day between Ross and Ledbury now.
Yeah, there's only one bus a day. So. And
that's two county towns, which is absolutely ludicrous.
Again, it curtails people's opportunities to employment in terms of being able to get to not just Hereford, which is obviously the main hub of Herefordshire, but also other significant towns in Herefordshire like Ledbury. And that's another thing that you touched on actually that I forgot to mention, was the fact that if they cut the bus service, not only will it isolate people, but you're going to cause more traffic. So more people are going to be more likely to use cars, which Hereford Centre it's already got a massive problem with congestion, and it's only going to exacerbate the problem to make it even worse.
I believe it was Diana Toynbee who said, if you work in the country and you haven't got the bus service, what are you going to do? You're going to use the car.
Exactly, yeah. Because you've got no other options, either isolation, or losing your job, or be affected and isolated. So you have to turn to private transport.
All these things turn into a false economy.